Here is a close-up view of the King James Bible, 1611 edition. This was the first and therefore original edition of the King James Authorized Text. And specifically, this is a close-up of Matthew 24. And so you can see on your screen here that we are looking at verse 31. If you go to originalbibles.com, you can look at this picture at the page number 1248. This is something that needs to be noticed. Within the marginalized notes, you can see how the King James translators used cross-references, and they denoted it with the asterisk here. I'm making this video to point out something that needs to be addressed. Many King James only advocates are also pre-tribulationists. The fact is, King James translators did not adhere to pre-tribulationism. They did not even have a concept of pre-tribulationism. What they did have a concept of is that Matthew 24, verse 31, is a rapture passage. And you know that because of the cross-reference here for Matthew 24, verse 31. The asterisk has 1 Corinthians 15, verse 52, and 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16. These are the two primary rapture passages that all raptures accept as being a rapture passage. And they give a specification here, or with a trumpet and a great voice. This is comparing all three of these scriptures together. It's also showing that not every single detail needs to be in a verse in order for that verse to be talking about the same event. For example, verse 31 in Matthew 24 refers to the sound of a trumpet. In 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16, you have the voice of the archangel. It is talking about the same thing. Pre-tribulationists do not want to admit that this is a rapture passage, because if they do, it destroys pre-tribulational rapturism. Because therefore, it would mean that the rapture event comes after the tribulation. Verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days. So I wanted to simply point out to you that within the marginalized notes of the 1611 edition of the Authorized Text, they have two cross-references of Matthew 24, verse 31, which are the two primary rapture passages. This shows that the King James translators agreed that Matthew 24, verse 31, was a rapture passage. So this is relevant to people who claim to be King James Bible believers and also claim to be pre-tribulational rapturists at the same time. If you are claiming to be both, if you are a King James Bible believer and you're claiming to also be a pre-tribulationist, you need to revisit your theology. And it's also important to notice that there's at least 2,000 textual variants that the King James translators needed to make decisions about whenever translating the Greek and the Hebrew into what we have as the King James Bible. Just like any other Bible, they had to make decisions. And the decision they made regarding Matthew 24, verse 31, is that it is a parallel passage to 1 Corinthians 15, verse 52, and 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16. This is something to think about. So, in summation, the King James translators denied any doctrine regarding pre-tribulationism. And it's crucial to understand that the core of pre-tribulationism is exposed whenever we understand the Olivet Discourse and we understand that verse 31 is referring to the rapture event. If you can understand Matthew 24, the entire doctrine of pre-tribulationism falls apart. It is the main pillar that will be knocked over regarding this doctrine. This is why they have to explain this passage as being something else. They have to say that it's referring to the regathering of Israel at the end of the week, and it falls on the timeline of the Battle of Armageddon. That's the only way they can keep their theology alive. And I simply just wanted to point out that the King James translators didn't agree with pre-tribulationism, and in fact, the marginalized notes here in this text denies the pre-tribulational rapture. God bless.